just being able to work with the mind of somebody who, one, grew up in Jim Crow South, went up north, understood that the difference of that, served in the Army. He was a veteran, of the United States Army. So he's a patriot. My dad, he had a lot of love for this country, but he also had, what he loved was what it could be. And, not what it was doing. He always looked at what it could be, and he wanted to contribute to what it could be. And that's what his career was about. And it was me being able to work with him and really seeing him do that, seeing how he did that on the job, at Newsday, seeing him do that in Sunday Edition every week, seeing him and applying it as we work together on this project. So for me, working with my father, having all of this experience and kind of reliving it, but what he wanted to do was, yes, this is what's going on, but this is what drove people to do better. And this is how they were doing better. And then other groups of people are coming down on Black people who wanted to do better and saying, we don't want you to do better. And I'm sorry, it's simple as that. Yeah. People can use other ways of describing it or explaining it away, saying it's more complicated than that. But when you have laws that say Black people can't own lands in certain neighborhoods, what is that? What else is that? And those laws only recently have been taken off the books. And I would say recently, like in the last 15 years. And some of these places still exist in the Northeast. I've been going to school in an integrated situation for a long time with the understanding of white people's preconceptions of me and people who look like me. For example, when you say, I would get this thing of being told, oh, you're different from other Black people. And my response was, you don't know enough Black people to say that.
Yeah.
And this is stuff that I had growing up in the 70s and 80s. So it wasn't getting better. These notions were still there. So that's something we have to come to terms with right now. And we are coming to terms with it. And so I also knew working on this book that whenever it comes out, it was going to be important because it was going to really kind of bring into focus what this country has not really been dealing with in an effective way. If you compare this summer to the summer of 65, the summer of 63, rather, where you had people who were going to the March on Washington, people doing their voters' rights, registering people to vote in the South, and those people who were registering to vote were being harassed, much like what we saw happen over the weekend with the Biden-Harris bus. You had this caravan of Trump supporters who were, threatening them. I remember somebody saying to me when they heard that I was working on Malcolm X's book, a book on Malcolm X, saying that they didn't like Malcolm, and and I had to finally ask this person, well, what do you know? And what do you know? I said, do you know what it was like in 1963? And, they were like shocked that we asked that question. I said, well, why are you shocked? That was an important year for a civil rights movement, and these things were happening. So if you put in the context of that, is it surprising that these things are happening? It didn't just happen out of the blue. You're uncomfortable with it because of the lack of information that you have and your emotional attachment to that. You have to look at the context of slavery even. And the reason why this keeps coming up is because slavery really never went away in the sense that it has never been dealt with. It has never been answered for. It has not. It's never been answered for by the people who benefited most by it. Those messages did get out in the 60s. They were not as, not everybody had access to it because it was new, but it was getting out there, and it was getting out there what was, I guess I would say, was fast for them, because whereas before that you only had newspapers. Now you had television, now it's being broadcast out. And now we have the internet. So what's happening now is Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks murders are being broadcast all over the world, quickly, in minutes. And the whole world is responding like, what is this? And this is unacceptable. But they're not just saying it's unacceptable what's happening there, they're also applying it to what's happening in their situations. But what's happening in those countries is the same thing, where Black people are being gunned down by the police for political reasons, or they're being gunned down for the same reasons, whereas maybe, we're 6 times more likely to be arrested here as Black people for, just a suspicion, forget whether we committed a crime, but just a suspicion, it might be higher in Britain.
Yeah.
I don't know the actual numbers, but I do believe that it is definitely that Black people in Britain are more, likely to be arrested and looked at than anywhere else. And I think that this is happening everywhere. And so that's why they're joining. It's not so much, it's just simply what's happening here, but that it is also happening there. This is the part that my father would have loved. He lived for this kind of stuff, engaging with people about this kind of information. So yeah, I really hope that people read it, process it, and I look forward to hearing more about, what people feel and learn from this, because I think there are a lot of lessons in here that we can learn about ourselves even.